Just come back from Cornwall, I feel very fresh.
Ah, lucky
relaxed.
for some. Live in Cornwall.
Yeah,
Oh, lucky
I went to
bugger.
Torquay as well, that was beautiful.
Ah,
Yeah.
you brought the weather back with you, didn't you?
Yeah, on the last day for sure.
You know, you mentioned before about the learning difficulties.
Yeah.
And we spoke, what? Very deeply, I think is probably the polite way of saying it. When did you notice there was a problem?
What, in my period of schooling or just general life?
Just in general, like general life.
I just realised that when I was hanging with a lot of people, I realised that a lot of the way I would think and a lot of the things I would do was quite a contrast to just a normal everyday life sort of thing. Especially in work environment, you know, you've got to kind of, you've got so many challenges that you have to deal with on a daily basis.
Okay.
Where, you know, a lot of people find things that you might think it's not easy, but they find it quite, you know, swift. And I realised that there was a sort of like a wiring issue. That,
Okay,
you know,
no,
so,
that makes sense.
But
Yeah, a bit like moody epilepsy. Okay.
yeah.
So when were you diagnosed?
So properly at university, my second year.
wow,
My
so
work was
quite
actually
late.
all right, but the actual context of the work was it needed structure, good structure, and it needed a good element of help. So I realised that my dyslexia was diagnosed then, and then everything else followed through in suit. So then I was tested for a lot of other things because their work can coincide, you know.
Okay. Well, over a year now we've known each other. I explained to you briefly what I'm suffer with. You obviously know about the epilepsy already. You've seen me have seizures. I also have learning difficulties, which both of us touched on, I think, probably over WhatsApp or whatever it was. And we both just connected, I think, more because of our disabilities. I mean, how do you cope with yours?
In regular life, it's very simple, and what makes it easier, and I don't know about you, but for me, what makes it easier is having the fact that you have a community and a support group. And when you ask for help or when you reach out, you actually find out that you're not alone, and this is the fundamental part of a disability, is understanding that you don't want to feel like isolated. You want to feel that there is some sort of help out there. What about yourself? In terms of your disability, how have you coped in your daily life? Have you met other people that have had suffered the same thing?
With the learning difficulty, it's been a lot harder. I mean, in education, I did struggle. I was, I think, the only one in my class with multiple health conditions. So it was a lot harder. But I think as I left education and I found groups like, for example, where we met and what have you, it was a lot easier to open up and become more free about things.
So yeah, in terms of, you say education, would you say that's help that you've received in essence? Do you think that's something that's, you feel like, oh, now I've got the education, that's like now helping me with my own disability kind of thing?
I think in terms of academic education, you know, school and primary school, secondary school, I don't think that has helped me learn about my difficulties. It's helped me learn how to speak about them, you know, use the proper language and so on. I think what helped more has been, like you said earlier, you know, finding your community, finding actually able to go, right, I've noticed that I have X, Y, Z, you know, I might have very low mood one day and I might be super happy, sky happy another day. And
well, I know how that feels.
Yeah, and I've been told that's part of my condition, you know, 1 minute being able to read and the next minute you can't read because every word is up, down, under the sun, which is what I've been told is connected to my dyslexia. I mean,
I hear a lot of people say that doing things to help ease your mind is a very important factor. So doing like things like mindfulness and self-help and self-cater. What things do you think you do to cope with your disability?
I write a lot. I find, you know, I write a piece of poetry now and again, and I try to meditate. It's not easy, but there are ways of doing it. But I think that's more because of the conditions that I live in at the moment. You know, having to live with family, I don't always get that zone where I can completely zone out. I mean, what about you?
For me, I think personally, I like writing. My degree's in literature.
Wow.
So I think I struggled with writing at school. I actually took literature as a rebellion because I actually didn't do too well. So yeah, being dyslexic and taking literature was almost a very complete, you know, no one will do it. It's very a juxtaposed idea to do so. in my world, I think taking alone time is really important. Taking time for yourself, even if it's a walk in the park, it's going places to see nature, being present. It really does help. Because sometimes I think with my disability, I get lost in somebody else's life too much. So I can get
What do you mean by that?
So I think you can easily fall into being codependent, and that is.
Okay.
I think because when you're growing up and you actually try and understand your disability, you think there's something wrong with you. So the fact that you meet someone else or you have a relationship with a friend, you latch onto that because you think, wow, this person's accepting me for me. But when you can actually find tools to actually find happiness within yourself, going for a walk, and like you said, poetry, so nice, and it helps ease their mind. And so in your life, going day by day, how has it affected you, say, in your work life?
Over the years, I've had the on and off, mostly voluntary work, but that's been more a thing of I've been having seizures connected to the epilepsy at times. I've not been comfortable going into paid work, or I've been told it's not fully safe for you to work yet. You've got to prove that you can work, and I've been like, yeah, do you know what? This is what I'm doing. We've had this year of COVID. So in the previous year to that, I was on a apprenticeship scheme, which was working in a youth centre. And my reason for taking that up was I enjoy community work, number one, but also I was told by the benefits people, you can't work, but you can study in full-time education. So I challenged them and said, what does an apprenticeship come under? And they said, well, that's education still. So I pushed myself into doing that and thinking that, yes, I'm getting a qualification out of it, but also I'm getting that work experience, which means, touch wood, should there be a chance for me to work, I can already say in this industry, I already have experience from this apprenticeship, which, under technicalities comes as education, but I mean, I would think it's still some form of work. I mean, you worked in a role as an estate agent, didn't you?
Yeah.
How was that?
So yeah, it had its challenges. I mean, I had a natural capability to work with people. I was a very people's person. All my jobs have been with people because I'm able to keep up that expectation. But it can have its challenges because sometimes it can become overwhelming. And the natural element of someone just being themselves, it comes easy to some. For me, sometimes it becomes a trigger that anything that you're around can easily distract you. So for example, if I'm working at my estate agent, I used to conduct viewings. So sometimes I used to get muddled up in my calendar. And the reason being is because the dates were too much for my mind. So I could easily do the viewing and I can easily do a sale, but the lead up to it becomes excruciating. My memory still makes me very insecure because I cannot remember a lot. So I write down a lot of things on my phone. I have a reminders page on my phone actually.
Oh wow.
And I, like today, just coming up to meet you, I had to make sure that was in the reminders thing. So I can always look back at that. What I've realised as well, in today's society, a lot of disabilities are hidden. And to be disabled doesn't mean practically you cannot walk or you physically are immobile.
Yeah, sure.
No one has a right to judge you for your disability. I mean, if I look at you now, completely normal, but there is a chance you could have a seizure. If you look at me now, I look completely fine, but if you piss me off, I'll probably end up ruining everyone's life here. That's how I look at disability as being. That we are often silenced because it's not visible, it's not seen, it should be seen for everyone. We should have a sticker with a red going, I'm not well, leave me alone. So how do you feel in terms of society, the way it's dealing with people who have hidden disabilities, as we do?
That's hard. I think it's hit and miss. So, for example, on social media, there is a few groups that I'm involved with, which are for people with learning difficulties such as dyslexia, autism, various levels of the spectrum. And then there's groups for other conditions that I have that I attend. And I think once you find that sort of safe space, then it doesn't necessarily matter too much what other people think. yes, it's hard to, have to face up to someone like the people that help you with your benefits or help you get into work, and then go, oh, but you're unwell, don't worry about work. It's not as easy as that, because when you're someone that's driven to sort of go, do you know what, I can prove to you, I am me. I am not this label above me. I am me. That can be harder. And I think that is what, for a lot of people, gets in the way. So that's why doing things like this channel, doing the interview with yourself, really, hopefully, makes other people realise, do you know what? Just because you have a condition and a learning difficulty, another disability or a chronic illness, doesn't mean you have to stop dead in your tracks.
Of course. So what you're saying, your disability shouldn't taint you the way society paints you as strictly, and a little bit of compassion and awareness is important. I think that's where it fundamentally lies for me, is that we are all human beings, and I don't think everyone is prim and proper and perfect. When you have a disability or you don't have a disability, we still have everyday lives of challenges. It's just that we just have these coined to us, and frankly saying that, more than ever, because of disability, a lot of people go through mental health. Arguably that in itself can lead on to a disability in itself. Because if you are, as I've faced depression now triggered my insecurities. Therefore, when I have insecurities, I have anxiety. So it does mediate to a certain form of condition. It's just a boiling kettle. And it's whoever gets there gets it.
I was diagnosed initially at the age of, I think, 5 with ADHD. And then when I was initially taken off, I can't remember the name of the epileptic drug, but off one of them, they found that my hyperactivity disappeared, hence why they changed me to attention deficit disorder instead. When you have ADHD, you're seen as someone that's got a lot of energy and is, can't necessarily concentrate. When you're attention deficit disorder, it's seen as you can concentrate for 3, 4, 5 minutes, and then you drift off into a daydream, and then you come back again, which is not what it's like. Sometimes you just can't
focus.
Sometimes it could be the tinsy things, you can't focus. I mean, I know the Underground Tube Map, London Underground Tube Map, off by heart. But then I can look at it and I can go in my head, all right, I can go, right, to get from here to here is bang, bang, bang. However, if I try and read that on a tube map, and if I'm not able to focus on, even on just one line of the map, then that's it. I will not be able to concentrate on the entire journey. And I'll become very stressed, very anxious, and then while I'm doing my journey, I will be, more often than not, shaking, going, am I going to get to the next station? Am I doing this? Am I doing that? Have I gone the right way? Have I gone the wrong way? And so one leads into another. When it comes to your condition, everyone copes differently. You were saying about getting personal space and moving out to be with, with nature.
Yeah, being present.
And and that helps you become into the present moment. What made you realise that move from being around people and being around artificial things, like city life, and being with nature, made you realise you could be present within yourself?
I try and have an equilibrium in my life. So if I have a work life, love life, family, friends, and so forth.
Okay.
And the way you can, decipher all of that is actually saying, hang on a sec, guys, I love to be there for you and I love to give you the best version of myself, but the only way I can do that is if I can be zen in my own mind. And that is where I take myself away. It doesn't mean I don't like you and I don't want to spend time with you. It's just that I need to start spending time with myself so I can recharge. So I think it's important when you have a disability that you can say to someone and say, listen, I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to go take a trip for myself, and I'm going to leave it as spontaneous as possible. And I think when you come back to the real normality or the realism of life, you feel pretty lightheaded and you feel like everything's fine. Have you been anywhere, or have you done anything in terms of yourself to take you away from people or from life?
This last 2 years, haven't been able to go on holiday, whether that's in the UK or abroad because of the current crisis. With that all stopping, it did knock me, and then I did notice when it come to doing things that normally help me, if I write about my dyslexia or I write about my epilepsy, I would feel that, I've written about it, that's it, it's done, it's vented. nowadays, because you see other people doing it more, especially with social media, because everybody else is now doing it because nobody else has got anything to do, you almost feel a slight pressure. So I have disconnected myself from social media as much as possible.
So as you don't do that, do you recommend, in terms of people who are watching now, what do you recommend to people who are very addicted to social media?
It varies person to person. You know, I have friends, and their way of coping is to be on social media, is to say, do you know what? I don't have a perfect life, but I can see people out there who have far better than me. I always see people who have far worse. And when I see people who have far worse than me, it makes me respect that I have quality of life that I do have.
It's almost like appreciating that you have a shelter over your head.
Yeah.
Or you have food. You have the daily kind of things that get you going in life that we take for advantage. So the fact that you have your legs, your limbs, the fact you have health, because health is wealth, as they say. So you're saying that the little things, those little things contribute to appreciating and not actually thinking, wow, you got it better. You look at the person, wait, you've got it a lot worse. So I should be thankful, kind of thing. Okay, well that's interesting. So yeah, I want to talk about a little bit more about this body dysmorphia as something that could be, you know, captioned as a disability in itself. I think body dysmorphia for me, because I've suffered with it, is actually understanding that when you look at yourself in the mirror, it's like you're seeing kind of beyond the person you are.
Is it learnt?
I think,
or is it already something built into you?
I think it's learnt, because I think as you're a kid, you're very naive and you're still innocent. And when you grow up, the world taints you in a certain way. There's certain societal expectations of you to look a certain way. For me, it was like, I've always had a weight issue. So for me, I actually kind of discovered that at a young age. I just didn't understand the concept behind it. And as I kind of got older, it got worse because I started to lose weight, but then I wasn't still happy within myself. So I realized that it's more of an internal thing than an external thing. And so you could look great, which I'm sure that I look okay now, but inside I do not look the way people probably see me in front. So body dysmorphia is a condition for sure. And it leads on to things like bulimia or starvation, or actually, you know, a lot worse things, you know.
You know, if you're someone even that's, you know, got something like Dyspraxia, for example, you can't necessarily always hold a book straight. So do you think not being able to read up on that has knocked you into not understanding it and you realising it more recently?
I think for me is that I'm not much of someone that will look at a diagnosis online or search it up. I'm more someone that's I'm living the diagnosis. So I can only define what I feel behind what I do. And if it coincides with whatever research is out, because there's a lot of information out there. I mean, on Google, it's not just one kind of page. There's over a billion pages. So what that says to me is that I can only allow you to give you my personal experience on what I'm suffering with, and whether you take it on board, and that's down to that person or that situation. Personally, with dyslexia, I've improved a lot because, you know, I've practiced a lot reading online, and I've actually tried to take my time, you know, not rush things. And that's the thing about dyslexia. You cannot rush things. You've got to be quite centered, and you've got to let people know that, you know, I need some more time. You know, if you're looking at a menu, if you're going to read a magazine or a book, you just take more time. And that's not a problem. You know, you'd rather do that than rush it and then get yourself flustered, and then you kind of had like a PTSD of an experience, you know, you kind of think, oh no, I can't do that again because this is my experience, but you take some time for yourself. That's regarding dyslexia.
What would you say has been one of your big standout moments in life connected to your learning disabilities and what's happened so far?
The biggest standout for me is was able to actually comprehend what my disabilities were and to actually accept that they're there, because to accept something takes a lot of strength in itself, because you kind of just accepting that there is something wrong with me, and that's a lot to take in. And you know, that's like being in a relationship where one partner is unhappy of the relationship and has to tell the other person they want to leave. It's hard as that, and that's what disability is like. You kind of it's like almost a tug of war within your own mind. You know, you have to learn to let go and say, this is me, and this is where I stand. And once you can do that, you can actually not even talk yourself, but you can almost trick yourself into thinking, I can get on with it now. You know.
So has that made it easier for you to open up about your conditions?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't feel any different anymore. I don't feel like I'm different to anyone else. I think my qualities in other places are much more potent than maybe the person I'm talking to. So we all have our characteristics and we all have our personalities, and that's what differentiates us from anything really, because we're all unique individuals.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I agree with you on that part, and I think it's been the same for me. It's that not only learning about yourself, but also learning how other people react to you. You know, so when I first met you, you know, we started speaking online, and when I first met you in person, it was thankfully that same reaction which made it easy for us to speak and connect. Whereas some people, especially like what both of us have seen, is you see one thing and then you see the complete opposite another time. And I think that's one of those parts of living with a learning difficulty. It's not easy to accept. And for me, that's been probably one of the more tricky parts of life. It's not accepting it in yourself, it's accepting how other people see you. And you know, and that's not only been learning difficulty, that's been with other conditions as well. And I mean, I really hope that we can carry on with these sort of discussions in another date, because obviously today we've touched on learning difficulties, but both of us have other conditions as well. Yeah,
I hope so too, and I think it's been brilliant that we can disclose this in a safe place and with people that we can resonate with, because it's nice to have resignation with people that, you know, who share those sort of things, you know. And that's how collectively we can spread awareness. So yeah, these chats need to happen to not only just help us, but to save other people's lives as well, because it could be life-threatening when people don't know how to manage it and feel that, you know, they're a victim, when in fact it's okay.
When they're not, I agree with you on that. So, and would you carry on with some of these things again if we asked you?
Yeah, absolutely. More than happy to.
Yeah, I'd enjoy that too. And then hopefully we can do more again.
Brilliant.
What do you reckon?
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you. No, thank you for that, definitely.